The US women's national team have made a lot of tactical changes since the Olympics, and as beautiful as their 3 goals against Iceland were, they didn't necessarily come from new concepts that were implemented. This is Busy Watching Women's Soccer, and I'm Variety O'Toole, here to analyze what changed, what worked, and what didn't in the US's first match post-Olympics. Let's start off with a reminder of the structure the US were using during the Olympics. There's 3 defenders at the back, 2 defensive midfielders, and the outside of the structure is fairly even on both sides. When we look at what the US is doing now, the 2 center backs are alone at the back. Emily Fox is pushed up high and is even in line with Sam Coffey, the defensive midfielder, Jenna Nieswanger, the left back. Here's a better look with the perimeter of the structure drawn. When comparing to their offensive formation from the summer, one thing that really sticks out to me is how much less congested it is in the middle of the shape. At the Olympics, we would see 3 players sort of operating in that middle area with 3 room to move within the structure. But when we look at what's happening against Iceland, there's really only 1 player clearly in the middle of the structure, and that's Sam Coffey. If we draw this line in to create a trapezoid at the back, we can see what this means for the US. The trapezoid structure will stay the same. It might move upfield, it might move downfield, but the trapezoid will remain intact. Where the movement is coming from is the midfielders and the forwards. See how Jenna Nieswanger is holding back there? She's in no rush to get upfield. Here's a look at the play from another angle, where you can see the players in the trapezoid aren't moving much, and the majority of the movement is coming from the midfield and the attacking players. So why the change? I think it was to create overloads. This might be something the team needed to do specifically against Iceland, or they might be starting to think about teams they might play in the future that will probably sit in a low block. In this clip, I want you to keep an eye on Rose Lavelle so that we can see how she moves across the pitch depending on where the ball is. With the ball on the right side of the pitch, she's staying available, in support, and it's not really until we see the ball get pushed to the left side of a pitch, but she makes this long, streaking run and then helps create the overload on the left side. We look at the numbers here, we can see far more players on the left than there are on the right. Nieswanger and Coffey do get a little bit more upfield here, but they're still fairly flat with one another, and we can see how they're working to keep that outside perimeter of the structure intact. In this example, the trapezoid is very clear at the start, but as Germa looks for a passing option, she disrupts that shape a little bit. Now, why are the team okay with this? Well, we're going to see, and it's because they're pushing so many numbers to the left-hand side of the pitch. At this point, almost all the midfield and forward players are hugging that left side of the pitch, but this whole system has players move depending on where the ball is. So let's follow Lynn Williams. We see her heavily on the left side of the pitch here. As the ball gets moved back and redistributed, next time we see her, she's going to be moving pretty hastily towards this right-hand side of the pitch. It's one thing to create an overload. You then have to decide what to do with that overload. And I think what the US are trying to do is something like this. By having the 2 outside backs up high, instead of having 1 triangle of players in the middle of the field like they did during the Olympics, they can now have 2 triangles of players on the outside of the field. A lot of the work that the right back and the left back are going to be doing is supporting those triangles and making sure that that structure is maintained. This is a fantastic example from Emily Fox, who has just an elite understanding of positioning on the field. We're going to see how all her movement is relative to that of the 2 teammates that she's working with to create this triangle on the side. One of them gets higher, she goes lower. Make sure that that structure is maintained, constantly pointing what needs to be done. And the whole purpose is to try and get that little breaking ball inside. This was a very different approach for the US compared to the Olympics. They used the wings heavily during the Olympics, but they were running the wings and they were sending long balls down the line. I don't think the US always looked comfortable with this approach. At times it seemed a little bit stilted and awkward, and I'm just not sure they have enough comfort passing the ball in this manner yet to really accomplish what they wanted to. This example, the ball comes back to Haran. She looks like she doesn't want to restart the passing triangles, and I think out of frustration just sends this upfield. And in fact, if we look at all 3 goals that were scored from the US women's national team, none of them came from that kind of triangle play along the wings. They were faster transitional chances. Shaw's goal required a little bit of individual skill and excellence from Casey Kruger, and a lot of individual skill and excellence from Miss Jaden Shaw herself. It's quite the goal, can't take that away from her. And the goal that Sophia Smith scored originated from a long ball played out wide to Alyssa Thompson. That first touch, by the way, absolutely magical, and things for Iceland were kind of breaking down a little bit at this point. Nice little rebound falls to Sophia Smith, and she puts that one in the net. All in all, I think the US had about 2 days to work on any new formations, tactics, strategy, so the fact that they accomplished as much as they did is a great result. There's 2 more tactical changes that I saw the US use, and I kind of expect them to stick with these going forwards. The first is the use of a high press, and when I say high press, it was high, hot and heavy. This was very aggressive, and the US really wanted to prevent Iceland from building out of the back. The team did a really good job at pushing Iceland wide and then going to compete for 50-50 balls in the middle of the field. Even when they weren't winning those 50-50 balls, it was enough to create disruption, make Iceland uncomfortable, and I think it's a really big part of the reason that the US absolutely dominated on possession. Eventually, this forced Iceland's goalkeeper into taking really long kicks. Her distribution is okay, but not excellent, and the US really looked to take advantage by repossessing this way. One thing that I think was truly excellent about this pressing approach is that the US did not allow themselves to be baited into pressing the goalkeeper when they did not need to. So at times, Iceland would send the ball back to their keeper here, and it's because Iceland is a very fast, very tall team that want to send the ball in behind and just play run and chase. So we can see here, Lynn is having none of it. Horan is having none of it. To get play started, they're going to do a little bit of a fake press, but you can see there's never really much intention in that. The ball has to go into the midfield, and as much as Jonsdottir tries to get this play started, there just isn't really any space back there, and Nair gets to the ball first. The second change to me was focused on one player only, and that was Naomi GMA. Knowing that she's one of the best players on the squad, it looked to me like Emma Hayes wanted to give her a little bit more opportunity to get upfield. In this example, she really goes for it, and we're actually going to see Swanson covering for her. Mallory Swanson covering for Naomi GMA. And this happened a few times. Usually it was Sam Coffey that would cover for her as we see GMA get upfield here. You see how Coffey's kind of staying behind more purposefully. That idea makes a ton of sense to me because Naomi GMA is one of the best players on the field. It doesn't matter that she's a defender. So that's why we also saw her get more involved on set pieces. This one was actually designed to go to her, I believe, and it's awesome to see her get the shot off. It's a really clever thinking by Emma Hayes to find more ways to get the ball to the feet of her best players. Overall, I'm really impressed by the changes the US have implemented after just one camp, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else they have in store for us. Did you catch anything new that I didn't? If so, I would absolutely love to hear from you. Please let me know in the comments. I'm going to do another video covering all of the newcomers and evaluating their first time out on the pitch. That's going to be coming after the Argentina friendly, so please look forward to that. Thank you for being here. I appreciate your time, and I'll see you for the next one.